All right, you're welcome back. It's talk time on TVC Breakfast. The Central Bank of Nigeria on the 4th of July announced that the nation's economy formally entered into recession in the second quarter of 2016.
Economic recession is a period of general decline in economic activities, and it is typically defined as a decline in the country's gross domestic product for 2 or more consecutive quarters.
Now, but how did Nigeria get herself into such a tight fix? Let's give you some background information. Maybe this is where we really should bring in our guests first of all before we do that. Dr. Isah Momoh, media economist at the Pan-Atlantic University. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks for joining us again.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning.
Okay, so we're told now that Nigeria is formally in a recession. Would actually like to, for you to give us a clearer picture of those indicators that really do show, that Nigeria has slid into a recession.
Thank you very much. The first thing is I want to talk of recession. We're taking a look at the macroeconomy,
which is the
big one, the larger economy, the national economy. But I say that there's a micro perspective to recession. That's the quality of life of the people. Because a nation, when we're talking about the GDP and GNP, is made up of the people of that nation. Those people have two aspects to their lives. They consume, they produce. These two result in a lifestyle or a quality of life that determines whether a nation is rich or poor. Nigeria has been potentially rich since 1960. It has never been rich. So I've actually lived a life of recession from the 1960s till now. Why did we get to that? Or we are saying what's the indicator?
Sorry, when you say Nigeria has never been rich, even with the oil boom, where we had a president say that the money is not a problem.
Nigeria as a nation was seen to be rich because of our earnings. Nigerians as a people have remained poor.
Perhaps that's where you're talking about the difference between growth and development.
That's it. So that's why the difference between the macro view and the micro view. So what has caused it? Because we're looking at the macro view, we're looking at how government has handled the economy, i.e. our earnings and our expenditure. That's what the GDP represents. What do we get into the country? Gross national product. What do we consume? Per capita consumption.
Okay.
Given that, the decline in GDP, a rise in inflation, a rise in unemployment are the indices of a depression first, and then a recession. When this becomes a recession, when it happens over 2 quarters and on and on and on.
And like it happened the first quarter of 2016, that second quarter.
Since January, second quarter confirms
there's
it.
a decline.
Because second quarter has just ended in June, so it confirms. That's why CBN issued that thing. I know the date on which they issued July 4th, the Independence Day of the US, of France, the world leading capitalists. So that's like saying you've caused a world recession which is affecting the poorer countries more and more. That's why poorer countries that didn't take notice that this recession is coming, is inevitable if you don't change your consumption.
So in a way you're saying this has to do with the global meltdown and the effect of that still? Is that what is still happening?
Yes, partly yes. Because a recession also comes in because of external factors. The fall of the price of oil, the sale of American shale oil, the breakdown of OPEC, because from 73 OPEC was the largest producer of oil and controlled the price of oil. But when Obama was campaigning, he did say, and Nigeria didn't listen, that I was not going to buy Nigeria oil. There was stimulating Americans to produce their oil from the shale oil. But we didn't notice it. We relied on China and India to buy oil and forgot the significant.
So those are the external forces. Let's look at the ones that's within our own shore. How did we get here?
How won't we get here when we've been looted black and blue by previous politicians? How previous governments, largely led by politicians and bureaucrats who were semi-politicians, concentrated on corruption, on taking our commonwealth and privatizing them into their vaults. And because they do that, and they don't want to show how much they are worth, they are conservative in their spending.
By the definition of recession, what we have now is a decline between the first two consecutive quarters of 2016.
I'm saying that's the...
There wasn't recession in 2014. There wasn't recession in 2013.
Good. I'm glad that you're saying so. That's what I'm saying. When we say 2 quarters, that's the period in focus. There's been a recession all along. That's the point I'm making. We are looking at only 2 quarters, and we think that this has just happened in 2 quarters. This government came into a recession, and the reaction will have been to stimulate the economy.
But
because of the problems
you've talked about the internal
causes,
which largely lies at the doorstep of corruption and all of that. But what about government's, fiscal policy on the part of government? How has that, led to this? Because in the midst of this first and second quarter, as a matter of fact, even last year, towards the tail end of last year, Emefiele continued to insist that Nigeria was in no way at risk of a recession.
He was, I wouldn't say deceiving the public, but being economical with the truth. The government, I want to remind Nigerians that the government plays only a part role in the economy. The economy is really based on the people. That's one mistake we've always made. We think that the government alone will make this economy good or bad. If the people are bad, no matter what the government does, it can only improve things a little bit. I want to approach this from a communication point of view.
Okay.
Markwell says the function of communication, which should be used by government, is to mobilize the people, sensitize them to things that could happen, mobilize them to make those things that are desirable happen, and to fight against those things that we do not desire.
All right,
not that government should go on and produce by itself.
Okay, so we're joined now from our Abuja studio by a business editor of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, Sanya Adejokun, who is my former colleague at FICAN. Hello, Sanya, good morning.
How are you, Busola?
Good morning, good to see you today. I'm so happy you're the one. So you understand what we're...
Surprised that you are here now.
Indeed, you understand what we're talking about, really. And our guest in the studio says that the CBN governor hasn't really been honest with Nigeria when it comes to the issue of recession. Do you agree?
I want to slightly disagree with that. In September 2015, Mr. Emefiele gave the warning, actually, that except Nigeria takes certain decisions, Nigeria was going to recede into a recession. He did give that warning. He gave that warning, actually. And that's the basis upon which we have been monitoring the economy since then. There's no doubt that, yes, we have really now gone into a recession because probably we didn't do what we ought to do, or maybe we didn't do them on time, or maybe there was no wherewithal to do them.
All right, before we go on, let's have the finance minister's comments as she has also admitted that the economy is actually in recession.
It's in a very, very tough place economically. Even to pay salary right now, we are borrowing. Yes, that's the fact. We are borrowing. Nigeria is in a very, very tough place economically. Even to pay salary right now, we are borrowing. Yes, that's the fact. We are borrowing.
Sonia, let me still remain with you. Now, the finance minister, quoting her, she said it herself, that we're actually borrowing to pay salaries. Now, when a nation gets to that point, what do we make of this situation right now?
Yeah, it depends, actually. It depends on how the government manages the economy, how the government is effective in gathering its resources, how the taxes are managed, how it is able to work the economy in such a way that it can take care of the people and itself. Now, if a government does not have the proper arrangement of raking in the revenues, industries, the private sector could be making money, and the government may not be making money. Actually, before the exit of the last administration, Nigeria has been borrowing to pay salaries. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala did admit that she was actually borrowing money to pay salaries long before she left office. And so it's not really this administration alone. The situation has been like that for some time.
Remaining with you, you did say that Emefiele had actually warned that some things needed to be done to prevent Nigeria going into a recession. What are those things, very briefly, that we could have done if we had any control at all to prevent this, first and second quarter indicators that really we are in a recession?
Very good. What are the indices that prove that an economy is actually in a recession? And those are the things that we ought to have done. First of all, inflation has to be properly controlled. We have not controlled inflation properly, probably because the economy has been wobbling. We have not, we're really dependent so much on oil. And when oil resources declined considerably, there was nothing to defend the naira. There was so much naira chasing a few dollars. And so there was automatic inflation in that regard. We don't have, because the foreign exchange is not stable, the naira has been depreciating. And so the general income, the real income of the people have declined. And that's the second one, inflation, real income. The real income has declined greatly. What we earn, what people earn now, assuming that someone was earning 150,000 naira probably 1.5 years ago, which was about $1,000. Now that 150,000 naira is now much less than $1,000. It's probably like $700, $600 or so or thereabout. So the real income has depreciated appreciably. Now that one will lead to consumption. If people are not consuming, the industries, even if they are producing, will not be able to produce again because there will be too much stock in their stores, which people are not able to afford. People cannot buy them, and if people are not buying, it leads to a situation where industries are no longer able to produce. And if industries are not able to produce, then they are bound to sack to reduce their staff, which we have been seeing.
Okay, Dr. Isah, let's come back to what Sanya was just talking about, the indices and perhaps the effect of what we have today as an economy in recession, beyond the issue of inflation, which many have attributed to the shocks in oil prices and all that. But beyond that, what other effect should we expect as we also speak?
Okay, I'm saying that because of the time of the program, rather than concentrate on the effect, we should concentrate on how to get us out of recession. And I hold three groups of institutions responsible. One is the government. Of course, the buck stops at the president's table in government. So the president must act, and act quickly. Okay. That's why I say we have been in a depression all along. So when Shoda Emefiele admitted in September that we're in a depression, but we're soon going into a recession, I said, well, that was being descriptive. We have actually been in a recession since 1960. When the British came to this country, they saw the economy as a basic agrarian economy.
I would like us to, we will go into the way out and all that. We are here all day anyway, if you like, but some of those effects so that you understand, so people can really understand and appreciate what we're talking about. Do you foresee government borrowing more? Do you foresee our national debt increasing as we speak? What other things should we expect?
Of course, if the government has this large staff of people, of the 180 million Nigerians, only about 30 million are employed. But those 30 will have to be paid. They go to work, and most of government work is unproductive. It's regulatory, it's monitoring. So they don't contribute to the economy, but they consume out of the economy. The largest pays go to them, the largest allowances go to them. So government would naturally borrow to keep this stuff going if it does not decide now that it has the opportunity to downsize or to right size.
And those two words are the words that Labour does not want to hear right now.
Labour has no choice. the average worker has his wife buying a gallon of petrol, or kerosene at 1,000. Labor salary has not increased that much. So labor has to say, do we continue pretending that we are working and earning money that does not take us home?
Is it really about downsizing,
yes, it is.
sacking people,
it
or
is,
actually making this, 30% actually more productive?
Good. How do you make them productive? You see, I think if you keep them in employment, in what we call deluded employment, they will never be productive. People wake up in the morning, you and I dress up at 5 o'clock, we are rushing here. What do we contribute to the economy? Talk. We don't eat talk. Isn't it? We must eat physical things. So if you keep us employed this way, how will we be productive? But if we are laid off and assisted and said each Nigerian citizen is entitled to this much subsidy to do something, for example, promote agriculture. They're saying, go and set up a home garden. We are giving you 100,000 naira to do your home garden. Tell us what you produce. If because of tomato Ebola, tomato is making money now, go and have in your garden, have tomato, have this, have this. You are doing something productive.
You can be sure I'm already doing that in my little garden.
That's what I'm saying. But if you spend all the time here, how will you be able to do it?
Indeed. Okay, so let's give you more insight. Of course, Nigeria, how did Nigeria get herself in this fix? That's really the issue. So let's give you some background information. Nigeria's GDP has been on steady decline since the fourth quarter of 2015, as the year ended with a meager growth rate of 2.11%.
The gross domestic product in Nigeria contracted 13.7% in the first quarter of 2016 over the previous quarter. In the third quarter of 2015, the GDP growth rate was 19.9%, an all-time high, and 3.1% in the fourth quarter of 2015.
And for the first quarter of 2016, the GDP growth rate was 13.7%, the lowest since 2004. Now, this negative GDP is a result of the fall in global oil prices. Of course, we've heard that over and over again. Fall in Nigeria's oil production and considerable decline in the manufacturing, financial and real estate sectors. Now, this comes at a backdrop of a further increase in unemployment rates, spiraling inflation and insurgency.
According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the nation's GDP in the first quarter of 2016 contracted by 0.36%.
Maybe we should bring in Adejokun here, Sanya. Now, how did Nigeria, I mean, one just wonders if it's even a question that even makes sense. You know, from 2013, 2014, Nigeria was the largest economy in Africa, overtaking South Africa. GDP was, in a very good place and all of that. And within such a short time, we're now talking about a recession. And of course, the manufacturing sector has been badly hit, with this. What exactly went wrong?
Well, it's so simple. The issue is that we got our priorities wrongly. Unfortunately, those who manage this economy became so selfish. They became so greedy. All they concerned themselves about was to help themselves, just steal as if they were competing to ruin this country. Nothing was happening in the economy, really. They were just manufacturing, printing money and taking it home, taking it abroad, not even investing it in the economy. There's a sense in which you can even benefit the economy by stealing. I mean, even if you want to be a thief and you want to be benevolent, that means that when you steal, you invest the money in the economy, the money begins to multiply and people benefit. But what did we have? Those who are managing the economy became so evil that what concerns them was to just amass the money, keep in soakaways. You remember the situation where dollar was found in soakaway, destroyed. People were keeping money in their roofs. People were stashing money away in Dubai, buying houses abroad. How was that going to help the economy? No way. But I just want to make a little correction. Now, I want to confess that I'm not an economist, I'm a journalist, and I'm a humanist. And I believe that reducing staff strength is not the way to get out of economic recession. In a recession, we already have a recession, nothing is moving, people are not buying, and when we say the only way to move out of it is to sack people and make them to go back to the farm, what gestation period will that take? So the way
in spite of the fact that
government can borrow.
In spite of the fact that this employed Nigerians are largely, to a very large extent, according to our guest here, quite unproductive.
Yeah. Yes. Government can borrow. Is the primary function of government to ensure the security of people. And security is not only defending people from Boko Haram attacks. Security is also defending people from the pangs of hunger.
Sorry, Sanya, you didn't get my question.
All the vicissitudes of life.
Sorry, you did not get my question. You are saying that because, of course, you're a humanist and you do care about, the welfare of the ordinary Nigerian. I'm sure our guest in studio, feels the same way. But he is saying that largely this employed group of Nigerians, is hardly productive. And so, you have this situation where a large percentage of the working population is not really adding real value to the economy.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely. Sure,
Okay.
Yes, I agree. But what I'm saying is this. The way to get out of a recession is not to sack. We're already in a recession, and the way to get out of it is, first of all, let us look at how to get out of this thing without causing more havoc. Remember that part of the reason for a recession is when people don't have the money, when they don't have the ability to purchase what is being produced. And so if we now say, now that we are in trouble, we are in recession, we want to sack people, that means there will be more problems before we will now get into, for instance, we are talking about tomato. Why are we talking about tomato? The so-called tomato Ebola, the Tuta absoluta, is gone. Tomato is now in the market. It's no longer as expensive. It's just a temporary problem which has been solved naturally. So that one is gone. We already have tomato in the market now.
All right.
And we have other things. The problem with us in this country, let me finish please, is that we don't plan before problems. It is when problems come that we begin to think about it.
Okay. All right. If you just told the line of Sanya's argument back to you in the studio, J.F. Kennedy, when the U.S. was experienced a kind of recession, that he had what they called expanding social security, employment benefits, and there were a lot of cuts in taxes and social intervention by the U.S. government to ameliorate the pains of the people. Can Nigeria afford to do that? We understand there's social intervention already, but do you think the effect of that social intervention will be felt when considering the enormity of the problem?
Where will Nigeria find the money to do this when your main product, oil, is not selling? That's the dilemma I want to solve. I think we should address. We should get the little one that we have into the hands of the people, not of workers, not of government people, not of politicians, the real people. And say, Isah Momoh, we want to see your 1 acre or 1 yard of farm where you're producing maize or tomato or yam and so on, and we give you this much money.
Isn't that where the social intervention program comes in?
That's what I'm saying. But the social intervention as it is now, in the hands of this large army of government and workers, will not get to the people. It gets, again, corruptly taken away. So that you are putting so much money and you are not getting any result down there. The economy will manage bottoms up.
Okay, so if they reduce staff strength, Dr. Momoh, if they reduce the staff strength
and put money in their hands to be productive,
money in the hands of those who are productive to be more productive.
No, make even those who are reducing productive. Okay. Then those who are already productive, give them more money. We have a model. The Nigerian Tobacco Company kept their production high by stimulating tobacco farmers. They organize them into cooperatives, they have a register of them, and they give them money at the beginning of the planting season. They sign contract with them that whatever you produce will be sold to us, not to local consumers. So government can do that. That's why stimulating this economy starts with education, starts with research. When this government came in, they will have set up a very strong economic research team. This economy is already in a deep depression.
What's your take on the 420 billion naira inflow, on cost of funds, that could crash, the cost of funds?
Where is it going? That's my question. Where is it going? What we need to, that's why I give the example of the British those days. What it should go into agriculture, it should go into manufacturing, it should go into infrastructure.
Talking about manufacturing,
yes.
the issue has not been that there are no credit or there are no grants for them.
Yes.
Problems over the year has been the access of this
that's
credit.
What I'm saying. So make the access.
So how accessible are these credits? Then when you talk about the bank rate, how would you suggest that the banks lower their rates now with the overheads and a lot of non-performing loans as we speak?
How are banks funded? They get money from government, isn't it?
Well,
then they mediate to the people, right? They base their rates on their own interbank rates, isn't it? So if a bank knows I can get money from government and pay 3% only, and borrow from other bank and pay 5% only, then the money that they give out, they'll charge a single-digit interest. But if they get money from those who corruptly took money and are giving to them at 20%, of course they will charge a double-digit interest. That's what banks do. Banks are there to make money. And they don't make money by trading, they make money by giving people to trade. A bank is not a trading house. So they want to give money to people. Banks are not that callous. Yeah. A linkage between agriculture and manufacturing is what will save this economy. And that's why I say that's what we should learn from the British. What they did then was to put down the cost of governance. So they had one district officer looking after what we call states now. So that district officer writes sources.
So they should reduce,
we should reduce governance. What are we doing with the bicameral legislature?
Okay.
That are not working every day. Then they work for 3 days a week and they take home 10 times salary of the average Nigerian. And what do they do again? As I say, talk. And when they go home...
So your reduction has nothing to do with the civil servants?
Not just civil servants.
Okay.
Government machinery.
Okay.
The British instituted a parliamentary system where you get elected once into the parliament. From there, you are appointed a minister. So you are paid an allowance for being a minister. Whether your pay is that of you're elected through.
Okay, gentlemen, let's go even further. Now, according to the Bureau of Statistics, in the first quarter of 2016, oil production stood at 2.11 million barrels per day, 0.51 million barrels lower from production in the first quarter of 2016, as the situation has since worsened, and oil production is now down to 1.6 million barrels per day, of course, due to increased militant activities in the Niger Delta region.
And this, of course, is a contributing factor to the negative GDP recorded in the first quarter of the year. In the non-oil sector, oil activities such as crop production, trade, and telecommunications and information services supported growth of the sector. Growth in overall was weighed down by declines in manufacturing, like we just talked about, financial institutions, and of course real estate.
Now, the non-oil sector contributed 89.71% to the nation's GDP in the second quarter of 2016, marginally higher from shares recorded in the first quarter of the year, which was 89.55%, yet lower from what was obtained in the fourth quarter of 2015, which was 91.94%. Now, the other major factor in the decline of GDP came from the four main activities that make up the mining and quarrying sector, which include crude, petroleum and natural gas, coal mining, metal ore and quarrying, and other minerals. According to the NBS, in real terms, mining and quarrying sector slowed at 2.96% year-on-year between January and March 2016.
In nominal terms, the agricultural sector grew by 14.2% year-on-year between January and March 2016. This was higher than growth rates recorded in the first quarter of 2015 and fourth quarter of 2015 by 6.7% and 4.7% respectively.
Now, the CBN says that the Manufacturing Purchasing Manager, PMI, dropped to 41.9 index points in June 2016 compared to 45.8 in the preceding month. This implies that the manufacturing sector declined at a faster rate during the review period. Very quickly, when I came across this purchasers, the PMI, I was wondering exactly what it meant. I doubt if many Nigerians know what it is, but what exactly is it, and how does it affect recession in Nigeria now?
the Purchasing Manager Index measures how much you buy and consume vis-a-vis how much you produce. If your component purchased is higher than what you produce, you are already seeing signs that you are declining.
Okay.
So Nigeria has been an importing nation.
That is, you're buying more.
You're buying more
than what you yourself are producing.
Because your needs are there, and you are not changing your needs. You are not having enough more money, yet you are spending more money in the purchasing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Let us focus on the people. The family is the basic economic unit in any place. What's the family consumption? That's why I said there are three groups to blame. The government should have seen that oil is not our salvation. We can see the figures. Manufacturing and agricultural sector contributes 91%, 89%, 87% of the GDP.
Okay, let's quickly bring in Sanya. Well, you're not an economist or a financial expert by any chance, but you know, Dr. Isah has said the people really should be the ones driving the economy, and I'm reminded of the United Arab Emirates model where the municipalities, the people themselves actually stakeholders in the economy, and they carry the economy from that point up. Is this a model we really should be looking at very seriously, especially considering our large population?
There's no doubt about that. The problem that we have had in this economy is attitude. The attitude is wrong. It's not money. Nigeria is not rich, but the attitude is wrong. If you are not rich, but you have some money, you may decide to invest. The way you invest, luck, the knowledge of how to invest and so on may be a help, and then you can move from there and begin to do well. But in this economy, the attitude is so wrong. When we make money, we spend it. Now that we are talking about recession, it could go into depression, because we're already talking about recession going to 1 year now. By the time we spend 2 years in recession, we'll go into actual depression. And what is that? That is because there are no ways to help the people. Okay, we're talking about Nigeria being the largest economy in Africa. That's just natural. It's not because of anything that government has done, or it's probably because of things that government has not done. Now, we make money. The money that government makes does not go back to the people. It doesn't reflate the economy. It goes to a few individuals. I agree with Dr. Momoh that we should probably have a unicameral legislature. We should probably reduce the size of government. But I'm saying that what I disagreed there is that we shouldn't sack civil servants, because civil servants, how much do they earn? These people are the ones who actually reflect the economy. When they buy, they go to the market, the market women also sell, they go and they service their families. So what we should do actually is to put this economy in the hands of the people. But how do we do that?
Okay, Sanya, many thanks for coming on TVC Breakfast this morning there. That's Sanya Adejokun, who is business economic editor at the Tribune newspapers, and of course Dr. Isah Momoh, who is a media economist. Many thanks for your time on TVC Breakfast this morning. We won't forget it, take home, it's about the people. Don't sack the people.
Indeed. And maybe I should even remind you, a book that I read some years back, written by Lee Coker, the man who turned Chrysler Motors around. He did say that in any recession or depression, you cannot go wrong with the food business. Maybe the average Nigerian should start thinking about, doing just that. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us.